We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the POMcast. I am your host on this magical mystery tour we call Ole Miss Fandom, Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for joining us today. Today on the show, we're going to talk about the addition of Jalen Knox. We might mention, I can't think of his name at the moment, but Heath from Mansfield, Texas. Talk about what they bring to the table. I think it's Kyron. I think it's his name. It's kind of a different spelling, so I hope that is correct. But we're probably going to talk about them a little bit. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and just talk general football. Pro Football Focus released its all SEC players. Matt Corral, number one, we're all in favor of that. But they left JT Daniels out of the top four. And instead they put like Emory Jones. Let me see if I can find that real quick before we get started. Let's see. Yeah, this is going to be great pod, but I am curious to see what the rankings are, and it doesn't look like they're there anymore. But anyway, Matt Corral, first team All-SEC in the Pro Football Focus rankings. JT Daniels left off of the list. Didn't make any of the top four teams. So that's interesting to say the least. Before we get started, though, I do want to tell you, you can go to Twitter and watch the show at The Stephen Willis and at The Rebel Walk. You can go to Facebook and watch us, facebook.com/POMcast, POMcast, or facebook.com/The Rebel Walk. Follow, like it, do us a favor and hit both of those. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about. Same goes for YouTube, Positively Ole Miss. Subscribe, hit the bell, sign up for all notifications. You'll know not just that we're streaming, but you'll know what we're streaming about, and it'll help you out in the future. The YouTube is the best way probably to follow the show because it'll just tell you on your phone, and you can decide whether or not you want to come in now, you want to come in later, what's going on. You can catch us on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. Audio-wise, we're on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Pandora. We're on several smaller podcatchers as well. We could name them, but we don't want to take up the whole show, so it's only a half hour. So, also, by the way, today is the last day to donate and get triple points with the Vault Society and the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation. Red points are non-deductible and towards priority seating. Blue points are 90% tax deductible and go towards parking and non-home ticketed games. That'd be postseason bowl games. Neutral site, we got a good example of that coming up on Labor Day. If you have any questions about that, you can go to give2athletics.com, give2athletics.com. Today is the deadline, the last day. After now, it's all locked in and you are what you are. So give them a call, check it out, and figure out what you need to do to get where you want to be. So that is about that. So we want to talk a little bit about Jalen Knox today. He's a traditional slot receiver. He's about 195 pounds, 6 foot, out of Mansfield, Texas. Transfer from Missouri. He appeared on the roster last night, just randomly. There wasn't really an announcement. They just put him on the roster. And if they put him on the roster, there's a pretty good chance that everything is done and everything's good to go. So we're going to proceed as if everything is good to go. He's a true slot receiver, as you can see in his video that we're about to put up. And he does a lot of his work in between the hashes or short passes outside the hashes. He's also the jet sweep guy for the Missouri offense, or was for the Missouri offense. Now, if you watch his highlights, you'll say it's like, well, he looks like a B- Elijah Moore, and a lot of that could be just the system they ran at Missouri compared to the system we run here. I expect a jump in production from him. I think he's a really, really good football player. And I do want to say that over and over again. He is a really, really good football player. And the three tenets of our program's culture are pro mindset, competition, and have fun. And him coming into an already crowded wide receiver room just ratchets up the competition a little bit more. I mean, between him and Braylon Brown and J.J. Henry, as you guys know, I am really a J.J. Henry fan. This alleviates some of the pressure on him because there was a chance with the offensive setup, since they didn't get the tight end that everybody claimed they were going to get and whatever. They might not have been trying to get him at all. This could be an example to raise up the slot position so that you can play a Hudson Wolf at tight end. He's still going to be asked to attack the same areas, but a little bit level of experience will help out in the slots and in order to not lose really the middle of the field, which is the strength of this offense, and so much of what happened last year happened because of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jalen Knox in this offense. You know, he's not really a phone booth guy. He's kind of in between Elijah Moore and Jalen Waddle as far as stylistically the way you play the position, but he's plenty fast enough. You can see him on the jet sweeps. You can see him on the reverses. They want to get him in the open field. He's not as much of a phone booth player as Elijah Moore, but there's not many people that are, to be completely honest. But he's a really, really good player, and I expect him to do really, really good things in the future with this team. Now, I'm not sure if he is 2 years to play 1 or 2 years to play 2 because of the COVID rule. I've seen it bounced around in the media to where some players get that year back and some don't. I think there's a lot of not understanding what's going on, and that causes a little bit of confusion. So I'm not going to say he's a 2 to play 2, although that would be preferable. But even if he's a 1 to play or 2 to play 1, it's still a good signee because of what he brings. He's a top level slot receiver. He's built like a slot receiver, and he's going to patrol the middle in ways that are needed and was used last year. This is a statement of intent from the coaching staff not to get away with what was working last year. I think after the spring, they looked at their slot receivers that said, we need a little bit more help. We're not really where we're there. They weren't going to put everything on J.J. Henry to come in and be the guy, and they wanted some experience in that spot. Now, Ja'Cour Pearson, good player. He's going to compete for a job. Quay Davis, good player, going to compete for a job. Now, I think Quay Davis is going to end up being a jet sweep specialist. But to do that, he has to be able to catch the ball fairly well as well. So I think J.J. Henry, if he breaks out, you'll see a split between him and Jalen Knox in the slot position. I think there could be a potential to run some 4-wide sets this year to take the tight end off the field. All of be able to make plays, but I don't think they're going to quite be at the level that they were with Kenny Yeboah. And with Yeboah and Moore, that provided a special combination of that position. Now, with the slot position seemingly taken care of, now they can focus on little bit of get better. And the fall camp's probably going to be for Hudson Wolf to get better and do the things he needs to do, because the tight end position, as we saw from Kyron Heath, as I said, is designed a little bit halfway between a fullback and a wide receiver. Because he's going to be asked to punish linebackers, get behind linebackers, and do the things they have to do. But he's also going to be asked to be a fullback. But also, I do want to bring up an interesting fact from Mansfield, Texas. Jalen Knox is from Mansfield. So is Kyron Heath. Different high schools. I don't know if there's any connection other than the defensive line coach, Randall Joyner, or maybe, I can't remember his name. It jumped off my head. I think Hertzler. One of those two guys getting us into the Metroplex. This is an area that we need to get back into. And you're starting to see some fruition. You have the Chris Patridge stuff up in the Northeast. And now all of a sudden they're starting to mine the Metroplex. It'd be nice if we could get in and down towards Houston as well. And then all of a sudden you can start to see a recruiting strategy developing now that everything is opening back up. That's the amazing thing about this. And the thing that people don't even realize. We did not get to see a genuine recruiting strategy from this staff because of COVID. And they took over in December. Everything was shut down in March. Now we get to see what a genuine recruiting strategy is. And you're seeing like Marquise Watson and Chris Patridge in the Northeast. You're seeing Randall Joyner and Cameron Hertzler in Texas. Now, I'd like to see a little bit, like I said, a little bit. I want to see us get into the Houston area as well. And you've got the Mississippi stuff happening with Derek Nix inside the state. In Florida, you got, Kevin Smith and everything, all the ties from FAU down there. There is a strategy emerging. Now, how successful they'll be, I do not know. I can't say that. I don't know how well it's going to work out. But at the end of the day, it's looking like a definite strategy is coming out. It's a staff full of recruiters. That's what people need to realize. The analysts are the play-by-play guys. They're the guys that are doing the X's and O work while the other guys are out recruiting. Now, whenever they come off the road and there's a dead period or something, there's time for them to handle that as well. But you're seeing a different style of Ole Miss football develop. You're seeing it being built. And this has needed to be been done probably since the mid-'60s. We have needed to remodel this for so long. And now it's actually happening. And honestly, it took Elijah Moore hiking his leg on Thanksgiving night a couple of years ago for that to happen. But it started the ball moving, and all of a sudden, all of Ole Miss football was being rehabilitated and doing the things they should have done way back. So it'll be interesting to see that. By the way, Kyron Heath, I'm very impressed with him as a tight end. Very soft hands. He works in the red zone well. He played on the line a little bit in Texas at Mansfield Legacy. He played on the line. He's not going to be asked to do that so much here. The thing about a tight end, and what you need to realize, is the tight end is the exasperation point of your system. It is the point that most is exasperated by what you do. Now, if you want to run the ball so much, you're basically getting an offensive lineman that can catch the ball. Think old school Arkansas or old school LSU. If you are in between, like Texas A&M, you want to run the ball, be balanced, you're going to get a 260-pound guy, but it's kind of the percentage is going to be 50-50 pass catching, 50% block. Now, that's absolutely true. Now, if you're asked to do what we want to do, where we rarely line up a tight end on the line of scrimmage, We do from time to time, but not anything really consistent. They do perform more like an H-back, but it's a cross between, like I said earlier, a fullback and a wide receiver. So you can go out and find somebody that is being less recruited by the Power Five because the system fit isn't there. But if you are looking for essentially a wide receiver plus type player, a 230 pound wide receiver, 6'3", 6'4", that might be a little bit slow to play wide receiver that everybody's recruiting him at because that's the basket they put him in as a wide receiver. He's just a little bit slow. And you can't place him at tight end in that system because at 230 pounds, could he hold up to blocking that much? But for us, he's an absolutely perfect fit. That's what people need to understand. Whenever you look at offers, it doesn't tell the whole story. If that was an exact science, Army wouldn't take Oklahoma to 2 overtimes or whatever they did with 2 star players. You got to fit what you do. And this kid fits us to a T. He's got a little bit of Evan Ingram in him. He's a little bit bigger than Evan, but he's got that in him and just really soft hands. He's a one-on-one winner and great ball skills towards the red zone. I anticipate him making an impact fairly early. And we're in a situation to where he could come in and be the backup to a sophomore Hudson Wolf. And all of a sudden the tight end position looks a little bit like Florida Atlantic when they had, I can't remember his name. I can remember the backup. John Rain was the backup. Harrison Bailey. Oh, not Harrison Bailey. Harrison Bryant. That's his name. He was the starter and John Rain was the backup, and that allowed them to do some pretty cool two tight end stuff because they were athletic enough to do both. They weren't a statue back there, and they just weren't put in the block. But you could run the ball very effectively because essentially you were playing with 2 fullbacks. That's the point I'm talking about. That's going to allow us to do more things. And my favorite triple option with Jalen Knox coming to Ole Miss, my favorite triple option is the one where option 1 is the jet sweep. Option 2 is the handoff on an inside zone to the running back. Option 3 is the zone read. It's amazing. It's all designed to torture linebackers. Everything we do, they cannot be right. And the fact that they cannot be right means that the offense cannot really be stopped. You can only beat itself. It's unbelievably impressive. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about JT Daniels getting left off the Pro Football Focus All SEC team. Matt Corral, number 1. That's to be expected. Emory Jones made the list as well. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to give you a couple minutes back, and I'll tell you a little bit what's coming up the rest of the week for us. So stick around, and I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Welcome back indeed. Stephen Willis. I want to tell you a little bit before we get started about the rebelwalk.com. Evelyn and her team do a fantastic job. They provide a subscriber level service for no money. None. All it costs you is a little bit of time, and boy, oh boy, is it worth it. So go on over and check out the rebelwalk.com. Again, the rebelwalk.com. You'll be more than happy that you did. I was combing through Twitter this morning, and I came up to basically the top 4 All SEC quarterbacks, and number 1 was Matt Corral, which made me happy. I've been obviously on that train for quite a few weeks at this point. But second was Miles Brennan, and that concerned me. And third was Emory Jones, and that concerns me. And fourth was Connor Bazelak, which I really enjoy. That's probably a good place for him. But this list started to concern me more and more. And this is Pro Football Focus as well. Now, second team, Miles Brennan. Now, I think Max Johnson was competing for the job, and a lot of people think he's going to go into fall camp as the number 1, which is going to make not only being the second team All SEC quarterback difficult, the starting quarterback on the teams needs to be his concern. And third being Emory Jones, which I like Emory Jones. And Dan Mullen does a good job with quarterbacks. I am concerned this year that he's going to try and square peg round hole it a little bit and try and recreate Kyle Trask's offense with Emory Jones. If he does that, Emory Jones will not be successful. If he goes back and runs the offense that he had with Chris Relf and Nick Fitzgerald and early Dak Prescott, he has a chance to be very successful, and that might be a good spot for him to land. People, I guess, are assuming that he's not going to do that. That's my question. The middle, after Matt Corral, there's just questions abound. Even JT Daniels, we'll just say he's 5th team. But JT Daniels, will Kirby take his thumb off the offense? Will he stop overprotecting the defense? I mean, that is the question. If he does that, JT Daniels has a chance to break out. There's a chance for a Joe Burrow type season with as much talent as they have offensively. I mean, that is absolutely a possibility. Now, but Matt Corral being number 1 after seeing Bryce Young and JT Daniels, even Miles Brennan appear over him in Heisman list, shows you the lack, I don't know if effort, I don't know if it's lack of understanding, I don't know if it's lack of people that have been where I've been, or lack of understanding. I mean, maybe it's laziness. But these are the same people that vote on the Heisman Trophy. So there's some kind of a self-perpetuating bubble to where they tell themselves good job because they're the ones that do set the nominees and they're the ones that vote on it. So, hey, you nailed the Heisman. What was your list? No. Now, I will tell you, I'm probably the only person doing anything like this, maybe in the SEC, that is set inside the facility, multiple years, had a desk, did the whole thing, and worked in the national media. I've done both. I've had all those conversations. So I have the ability to see what's going on, even if I haven't heard, and understand what's happening. Because I've been in that situation before. So whenever the media is trying to set up Matt Corral as Zach Wilson, like I explained to you earlier this week, whether he gets all SEC plaudits, which he does from just about everybody, but in the Heisman, he's 4th or 5th. It's people trying to set rules for stuff that don't really have rules. They want things to fit in a nice, neat little box. Everybody does. This quarterback is a system quarterback. This quarterback is an athletic quarterback. They want everything to fit in a box. And that's how everybody goes through life, whether you admit it or not. They want things to fit nicely in a box. You remove the box and all of a sudden you have 8 billion individuals running around. And there's no generalities to explain them. That's probably the correct way to do it, but it's also the harder way to do it. And people are, people are genuinely willing to do as little as possible when it comes to that. They want snap decisions. They want hot takes. They want all of that because that is their internal personality. Ole Miss needs to be methodical moving forward. Ole Miss needs to do things in the interest of Ole Miss, not how they were successful everywhere else, how it can be successful here. Because also, and people's need to put things in a box, an individual school has different sets, even though they might be put in a box with, I don't know, Vandy, Kentucky, and South Carolina. The schools are going to be completely different. They need different things. Just because it worked one place doesn't mean it'll work again. So that is the reason that I am so fired up about Lane Kiffin. The renovation of the Ole Miss athletic department. The early adopter attitude that Lane has when it comes to his offense, analytics, everything. At the time being, Ole Miss needs to be first. Ole Miss needs to try it out. Because if you are, you end up like Boise State. Boise State didn't recruit well. Boise State didn't do anything special. They were just an early adopter on packaged plays. They were 5 years ahead of the curve, and by the time that everybody caught up to them, which they have now, they had already built their reputation. They did that by early adopting. So, those packaged plays now are part of everybody's offense. Every Ole Miss play is packaged. Every run play is a pass play. Every pass play is a run play. Everything has a tag. And that's the reason we are so difficult to stop. That and attacking that space directly behind the linebackers. They can't be right. So, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes back. Thank you very much for joining us today. We'll be here tomorrow and the day after. Hey, it's the end of June. It's the end of my birthday month. So, I want everybody to have a fantastic, Thursday. Enjoy it. Have fun. And of course, hotty toddy.